Have you ever noticed how some people become uneasy when someone is genuinely kind to them? Not surface-level politeness, not kindness that expects praise, but quiet, sincere, no-strings-attached kindness. Their smile tightens, their body stiffens, their mind starts searching for motives, and sometimes they trust harshness more than care. If that feels familiar, either in yourself or in someone you know, this video is about that reaction. This is the psychology of people who don't trust kindness. And no, it doesn't mean they're cold. It doesn't mean they're ungrateful. It doesn't mean they're incapable of love. It means their mind learned a very specific lesson about safety. Let's decode it. Here's the first truth most people never hear. People who don't trust kindness usually didn't grow up without kindness. They grew up with inconsistent kindness, and inconsistency changes the brain more than cruelty ever could. Let's break this down, slowly. Kindness once came with a cost. For many people, kindness was never free. It arrived with conditions, with expectations, with invisible strings attached. Affection followed by withdrawal. Help followed by control. Praise followed by pressure. Psychologists call this conditional positive regard. The child learns something subtle but powerful. Care can disappear. Kindness can turn. Comfort is temporary. So the nervous system stops relaxing when kindness appears. It stays alert because the body remembers that the last time something felt warm, it didn't stay that way. Later in life, when someone is genuinely kind, the reaction isn't gratitude, it's preparation. Preparation for disappointment, for obligation, for loss. Their brain learned that kindness is unpredictable. The human brain values predictability more than happiness. Even predictable pain can feel safer than unpredictable care. If someone grew up in an environment where kindness appeared randomly and disappeared without explanation, their brain learned not to rely on it. Psychology calls this insecure attachment conditioning. So when someone is consistently kind, it doesn't feel reassuring. It feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar often feels unsafe. Cruelty, criticism, or emotional distance can feel easier to trust, because at least they follow a pattern. Kindness invites vulnerability, and vulnerability once meant danger. Kindness opens doors, it lowers defenses, it invites closeness, it creates emotional exposure. For someone whose closeness once meant pain, kindness doesn't feel soothing, it feels risky. Psychologists describe this as defensive emotional distancing. The mind says, if I accept this, I might need them. If I need them, I can be hurt. If I can be hurt, I should pull back. So, kindness triggers retreat, not connection. Not because they don't want closeness, but because closeness once came with consequences. They mistake kindness for manipulation. People who don't trust kindness often became highly perceptive early in life. They had to read tone, track mood shifts, notice emotional undercurrents. They learned to ask, what do they really want? What happens after this? What's the hidden cost? Psychology calls this hypervigilant attribution bias. The brain assumes intent behind every action. So kindness isn't taken at face value. It's analyzed, dissected, questioned. Not because the person is cynical, because their survival once depended on seeing beneath the surface. Kindness clashes with their self-image. This layer is subtle but powerful. Some people don't trust kindness because it contradicts how they see themselves. If someone learned early that they are too much, not enough, a burden, unworthy of care, then kindness creates inner conflict. Psychologists call this self-concept dissonance. Being treated well feels wrong when your internal story says you don't deserve it. So the mind resolves the discomfort by rejecting the kindness, not because they don't want it, but because it doesn't match the identity they learned to survive with. They associate kindness with loss of control. Accepting kindness means receiving. Receiving means depending, and depending once felt dangerous. For many people, needing someone meant being trapped, indebted, or powerless. So they developed emotional independence as armor. I don't need anyone. I handle things myself. I'm fine on my own. Kindness threatens that armor. It invites softness. It invites reliance. It invites trust. And trust once felt unsafe. So the instinctive response is distance.
They feel safer giving than receiving. You may notice this pattern. Some people are endlessly kind to others, but deeply uncomfortable when kindness is directed at them. That's not coincidence. Giving creates control. Receiving requires surrender. Psychology calls this asymmetrical comfort orientation. They learned that being useful created value, that helping others kept them safe, that being needed felt less dangerous than being cared for. So they give generously, but receiving triggers anxiety. Kindness reminds them of what they missed. This is one of the most painful layers. Genuine kindness can highlight absence, care they didn't receive, protection they never had, support they learned to live without. Psychologists refer to this as grief activation through contrast. Kindness doesn't just feel warm, it brings grief. Grief for what could have been, for what should have existed, for what was missing. So the mind avoids kindness to avoid the grief it awakens. They trust pain because pain was honest. Pain doesn't pretend. Pain is direct, clear, predictable. For people raised in emotional unpredictability, pain often felt more honest than affection. Psychology calls this negative familiarity bias. The brain prefers what it knows, even if what it knows hurts. So kindness feels suspicious, not because it's false, but because it's unfamiliar. Kindness makes them feel too visible. Kindness often comes with attunement. Someone notices you, understands you, sees past defenses. For someone who survived by staying unnoticed, this can feel invasive. Psychologists call this visibility anxiety. Being seen kindly can feel just as threatening as being seen critically, because both remove invisibility, the old form of safety. Their nervous system learned to stay guarded. This reaction isn't just psychological, it's physiological. Their body learned to stay slightly tense, slightly alert, slightly braced. So when kindness appears, the body doesn't soften, it tightens. The heart rate shifts, breathing changes, muscles contract. The mind interprets this as danger even when none exists. They confuse consistency with control. Kindness that stays feels unfamiliar. Kindness that doesn't withdraw feels suspicious, because consistency was once followed by loss. So the mind tries to regain control by questioning, doubting, or distancing. Control feels safer than trust. They learned love through unpredictability. If love came inconsistently, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, the nervous system learned to stay alert. So calm kindness feels wrong. It lacks the familiar emotional spikes. Psychology refers to this as attachment dysregulation. Peace doesn't register as safety when chaos was normalized early. They fear becoming emotionally dependent. Kindness can awaken longing, and longing feels dangerous if it once led to disappointment. So the mind shuts the door early. Better to not want than to want and lose. They learned to survive without softness. Softness once meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant harm. So they learned strength without tenderness, resilience without rest. Kindness challenges that identity. Now, pause for a moment. If any of this resonates, there's something important to understand. People who don't trust kindness aren't rejecting love, they're rejecting risk. Their nervous system remembers too well. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Distrust of kindness isn't a flaw, it's a survival adaptation, a smart one, a protective one. It kept them emotionally safe when safety wasn't guaranteed. But here's the difficult truth.
What once protected them now isolates them. The same walls that blocked pain also block care, and the nervous system doesn't automatically know when it's safe to lower them. So what actually helps? Not pressure, not demands, not forcing vulnerability. What helps is consistent, low-pressure kindness. Kindness without urgency, without expectation, without withdrawal. Because the nervous system learns safety through repetition, not reasoning. Here's the deeper takeaway. If you don't trust kindness, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your system learned to survive in an environment where kindness wasn't safe, and unlearning that takes time. Before you go, ask yourself these questions. Do I question kindness more than criticism? What happens in my body when someone is good to me for no reason? Do I feel safer giving than receiving? What story did I learn about deserving care? What would it feel like to accept kindness slowly, without rushing trust? If these questions stayed with you, you're already becoming more self-aware. If this video felt uncomfortably accurate, subscribe for psychology that helps you understand your patterns without shaming them. Because learning to trust kindness isn't about becoming naive, it's about teaching your nervous system that safety can exist without a hidden cost. And that takes patience, not pressure.